Hey guys, back at it again. Alright, I'm going to do a long intro today. I kind of have some backstory for this one. This is my Sogo mini Phal Vivian, and this is my birthday orchid from the face group Phal Pals. Darrell from Orchids for Dummies YouTube channel put this together. It's really important to me to save this one, or for her to be okay. So you can say that this is an orchid that I'm really attached to. And like I said, I would really love for her to make a speedy recovery. But if not, you win some, you lose some. I have had this orchid for about a year and a half, and I got it in spike. Right here, I'm going to bottom feed her and to soften up the moss. I potted this one in Sphagnum Moss, if I hadn't mentioned that already. It came in the mail from Hauserman, and it immediately bud blasted, which isn't a surprise. Came from the nurse. I mean, if you think about it, it came from the nursery through the mail in March while it was still cold, so no surprise. The spike just now started dying, and I think I got maybe 2 or 3 blooms, but I don't even remember what color it was. Anyways, it got to me in moss. I was doing really good. It was doing really good, but I saw one root it rotted, and then another, and after about 3, I decided to repot. I put a layer of charcoal at the bottom, and then moss for the potting medium. And here is the huge mistake I made. The placement of the orchid is the problem. I don't really remember if I got it already with the black hairs starting, as you can see around the stem, or if what I was doing when I got it put it in this condition. I like bottom feeding because watering on top is challenging with moss or any other medium for that matter. At least for me. I have not, mastered that thing. Whatever. Either way, I placed it too far down in the pot, and now it's suffocating, and it's not growing. It's doing actually worse. I had a bunch of leaves that were growing on top. There wasn't very much root growth, but there was new roots growing. The air roots that I had gotten weren't really staying alive. Okay, soaked enough. What has contributed to the stem rot is more than likely having it too far down and bottom feeding it, so the moss is soaking the water upwards, and it's inevitably getting too close to I guess the stem. I wasn't sure if I should have unpotted it after the first leaf died, but hindsight is 2020. Maybe sooner than later would have been better, but here we are now. That first leaf fell off, and recently the roots started dying one by one, and then the black stuff started climbing, spreading up the stem, and now we have a noticeable problem. Gently unpacking the moss here. As you can see, the orchid is placed too deep in the container, and the moss is packed pretty tight, way too tight, and it's supposed to be loosely laid in there gently. And I think that is a common mistake for beginners. I mean, it happened to me. I'm going to speed run through the unpacking to get to the good stuff, where therein lies the problem, or where you can only see it by unpotting it. Dun dun dun. We have root rot. Now, this is not leaving us with 0 roots, but because I think we have enough to repot, But like I said, I don't know if it came with this, came with stem rot, or if it's from root rot climbing into the stem. I know that's a tongue twister, but yeah. My first mini Phal was a rescue mission that I got from Lowe's on clearance. And when I unpotted her, because it was dehydrated, so I unpotted her, and it had the same black tip right here at the very bottom of the stem. And I ended up putting it in water culture, to save it. And she immediately died. Like, not even like a month or two, maybe. I love there's a YouTube channel called the Orchid Whisperer, and I just love her. She said that her minis didn't do well in water culture either, and I didn't need to unpot that first mini Phal I had, and because it had really green healthy roots. So yeah, that was mistake number one. Of course, the next step will be cutting off all of the dead roots in preparation for the repot. I wanted to switch gears for a minute and just express how much YouTube and you guys, and most of all orchids, have almost kind of saved my life or changed my life. 2 years ago in 2020, well, actually in 2019, an event turned my life upside down. And when I started growing orchids in 2020, it gave me something that soothed my soul, and that brought my vibrations to a more even level. And I was always at that time I was always on guard and on the ready from the PTSD I was experiencing. And growing gave me a sense of purpose. And of course, yes, I love my child. I love my work, my family, but it was something different. And I'm grateful for orchids and the beauty of the mechanics that make them work. I say that to say this: if you are experiencing anything, hard times, going through it, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There will be a time that you just sit back and think, I made it through. And then you'll almost like reflect on how did you do it? Like, how did you get to this point? And that'll be just a good feeling. Going back to my very first video, I was so nervous, and I was still learning to push through my speech disability. Doing these voiceovers has really brought my confidence back up, and it helped with having to do presentations, especially at work, or just talking in general to people around, work, or, in the store, or just to my friends. And I just love the orchid community. I want to welcome all the beginners and tell you guys that you will get it. You will get it. And the best part is when it finally works with whatever you're trying to do, method with the orchids, and you hit a milestone. That is the best part of it all. And I lump orchids in with the bonsais, like the bonsai trees. It just gives like these lesson type vibes, this life lessons. And I don't know, that is something I value, or a lot, definitely at this point in my life. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Well, overall, life really throws you some curveballs and they really suck. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that because I lived it. And when the glass breaks, when the vase breaks, even though you put it all back together, glue it all nicely, piece by piece, you can still see those cracks. But if you think about it, that's what makes it beautiful and unique. And I mean, it's together. It's whole. I've gotten to that place. I feel whole again. Took some real serious work on myself. I did it for me. So in conclusion, for people going through those hard times, I don't want to say anything too sappy because, that kind of thing, sometimes it would bother me when nobody knows what you're going through. But I will say, you will push through it. You'll get there. So don't give up. And that's all. That's all for this video. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this and have a most wonderful day or evening.